want to acknowledge Councilwoman Carolina Chavez was
I'm right
here. Oh, she's here. Councilwoman from Chula Vista. I want to acknowledge her presence as well. Please join me in welcoming her. So it's great that you actually get to hear from the two representatives from this area in our state capitol, because you get to hear about the reason why we have representative government the way we do. While Senator Padilla is working on a lot of things, and we'll talk about the things that we're working on together, because there are a lot of things we are working on together, there's also a lived experience that he has that he brings to the table that's different than mine. And it's those different lived experiences that make it such a valuable institution. Our legislature is supposed to be representative government of the people, and we come from different backgrounds and with different experiences. And you heard about his perspective, which is really, really important. Workforce development is critical and it's a key. What's interesting to me is I came to this job with the hopes of being the type of representative that was described in my bio, which is really focused on what are we doing for the communities that I represent, the communities that have been left behind, the communities where the libraries and the parks haven't built, where the water hasn't been clean, where our infrastructure isn't what it should be, where housing does not exist in the way that it should, and very, very focused on the district where we're not recognizing the needs of communities, like for example with our cultural cruising bill. It's all about our culture and our community. It's important for a lot of people in our community. So I came with it with that perspective. As I've been there now for a little over a year, I've come to realize with a lot of sort of self reflection that there's two things that for me are really critical and that I really want to focus on as major themes, with other sub-themes which I'll share with you as well. But there are two things that I know I would not be where I am as the son of immigrants who came to this country with not even a first grade education, who never owned a piece of property in this country, as the youngest of six, who was the only one to go to college, and that those opportunities that Senator even referenced were available to me, but perhaps are not as available to new generations. And that those are things we have to focus on. And the two things are housing and education. And so those are the two themes that you'll see through a lot of the work that I do, and we'll talk about specifics, but without housing, and we do have a supply issue, while we need to talk about certainly wages and people who can afford to live here, we need to make sure we have the supply so that people can actually afford it. The compression is very real. We have people who are struggling with rent, and we have people who can't buy a first home because we don't have enough of it. And so a lot of the work that I've done this year is focused on that, and that I already know I'm thinking about next year, and the bills that I will be introducing are focused on that. And the second is education. I talked about my personal story. I know I would not be part of the middle class were it not for the opportunities that our public institutions from K through 12 and higher education, with my degree from San Diego State University, afforded to someone like me, who had nobody in their family had ever gone to college, and frankly was frightened about what the idea of college was, because back then I was never exposed to it. And I know that there are still a lot of Californians that face that. I know most of us in this room, that's not an issue to us, but there are a lot of Californians that need to have those opportunities to either be retrained for the new workforce or to have access to education. That's why you see me, and in partnership with Senator Padilla, focus on the bill that Governor signed, which was on the Surplus Lands Act, to really focus on the work that Senator Padilla did as mayor and council member, and the councils and mayors have done since then, which is to bring higher educational opportunities to the South Bay. That's really, really critically important. And there's a lot of things that have been done to lead us, and then there's a lot of things that still need to happen. And now we have, I would say, a team, actually a real team effort in the legislature that's focused on making sure we get this to the finish line. Making sure that we allow our community colleges to be opportunities for people who want to re-enter the workforce. That's also critically important, making sure that our community colleges are funded and that they have the support systems to make sure our kids have those opportunities. And in the case of community colleges, living in a binational region as we do, and we both have the very unique opportunity to serve the border region. Only two of us in the assembly can do that. That's my colleague from the Imperial Valley Mr. Garcia, but in the Senate, it's just Mr. Padilla. So there's 3 members of 120 legislature that are constantly working to make sure that people in Sacramento understand what this binational region means to us. And it means things like ensuring that students from our region can attend our local community colleges because they play part in our economy. That's why we have a bill that is hoping to ensure that those students can attend our colleges as in-state tuition students so that they can actually afford to do that. And that we have the partnerships with our Baja institutions to have those exchanges of students, which is really what's needed to strengthen the region. That's why we're focused on infrastructure to make sure that our ports of entry continue to grow and expand, and Otay 2 is obviously a big focus of that. So the 2 main focuses for me, education and housing, but we have to be cognizant of where we are, and we have to be the advocates, and we are the advocates in Sacramento so that the 117 other members of the legislature understand that the problems that we face don't stop at the border just because there is a border. There's a reason why 130,000 people cross every single day from the US from Tijuana into San Diego to work, to do business, or to go to school. And it's because the challenges and the crises of housing have required that a lot of people actually, live and move over south of the border. So all of these problems are all interwoven, and you need to have representation in Sacramento that understands that. And I would tell you that while we've had great representation in the past, don't speak ill of any of those, I don't think we've ever had a team in this region, representing this region specifically, who understands all those issues in the Senate and the Assembly, and we're really proud to represent you and happy to talk about all the other bills. Thank you very much.